who came in, and he's going to give us a live demonstration. He's going to also present a little bit on what we're going to be doing today and what he does and everything. We also had JJ from JJ Grow Enterprises come down as well. He's a longtime hemp expert and teaches the Hemp 101 course at the NOCO Hemp Conference every single year and other places. I'll pass it on to our special guest of the evening, Ray. Let's give him a round of applause, y'all.
Thanks, Clayton.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me here, and I'm really excited to engage on campus with Texas A&M about building with industrial hemp. Now, one of the things that's exciting about it is how everything is merging together with several different industry inputs, and that includes, we're going to talk about construction. Y'all have talked a lot about the horticulture side. There's the agronomy farming side. There's the construction side. There's equine sciences, veterinary medicine, small animal as well. Large poultry production with the bedding usage. There's a lot going on with industrial hemp, and there's opportunities. So when you're in university, one of the things you're looking for when you get an education is opportunities to go with it, and it is an ocean of opportunities in a ton of verticals. And so I'm going to tell you a few of the ones that are mine and what I'm doing, and then that'll get some ideas and some thoughts going with you. My name is Ray Kaderli. I am the founder of Triple P Fund. That is an investment fund. My background is a real estate broker and investor. I'm not a construction guy by trade. I am building houses to hold as investment. I've done a lot of fix and flips, and as I was doing those, I saw how the materials that we use in today's residential construction can be garbage after about 20, 30 years, and then we're fixing and repairing and selling it again, and that's a waste. And I didn't want to do that because I was wanting to build and hold. I wanted these properties that we were building to last several lifetimes. And one thing you know about older homes is they last, but they're the devil to heat and cool because they breathe. That's the best and the worst thing about them. So moisture management is a tricky thing to accomplish, and then with building with hemp does that. So from a viewpoint of an investment, that's something that's money in my pocket, and then there's all the other environmental stewardship aspects that go along with that. Now, to fulfill that need for building with industrial hemp, because it's new, it's cutting edge, there's not a lot of subcontractors, there's not a lot of supply chain in place to do that, so I founded the Hemp Build Network. And then I am my own customer, and then I am seeking to teach, train, share, and cultivate ideas to where others can do the exact same thing. This isn't secret knowledge. This isn't proprietary anything that I'm doing. I'm doing what I'm doing in such a way so that others can do it. That's what I call a pathway to production. I want the D.R. Hortons, the Richmond Americas, the Lennars, the production home builders as well as custom home builders to be utilizing this technology because it's healthier for the planet and the environmental stewardship that goes along with it, and it's healthier for the occupants, and we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about why use hemp lime or hempcrete. The other thing is I'm serving in a leadership role as the president of the U.S. Hemp Building Association. That is a trade association advocating for materials and methods using industrial hemp as a building material. That can be from some of the pressed particle flooring and fiberboard, as well as some other bat woven or non-woven insulation. The main lion's share of that effort is around hemp lime. That's where you mix the woody part of the hemp plant with lime and water, and that makes what's called hempcrete or hemp lime. And we're going to talk about that a lot this evening, and we're actually going to mix some up so you can take some home with you. And so lastly is the ASTM D37, and specifically the D3707 subcommittee. Is anybody familiar with ASTM and what they do? Okay, and so if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you go down any aisle and pick up any product, it's probably going to have an ASTM standard on it. Next time you're in one of those stores, take a look around and you'll be amazed at like, oh, this is everywhere and I didn't even know it. And so the D37, and that's from concrete, steel, textiles, pick an industry, and ASTM has a subcommittee for it. And what they'll do is they'll set standards so there's not chaos and shenanigans in the industry. And so JJ would have a different word for shenanigans, but we won't say that right now. So what ASTM does is they prevent that. This is a volunteer organization where the industry leaders come together, they establish standards that everybody plays by, and then they go on their way and then they compete again. And so everybody's playing by the same rules and there's not chaos. Now there is an ASTM committee for cannabis. Now that's everything from cannabinoids to textiles to building to animal feed to food, the whole plant, industrial big tall plants, small bushy plants, vape pens, cartridges, everything has a little ASTM something on it, and then they're setting these standards so there's not chaos and shenanigans. Now, I'll focus on the USHBA and ASTM because they are focused on you. They want your input from the academic community, and then that's one of the things that those organizations have tasked me to do, is to seek out and have a liaison conversation like the ones we're having here tonight. So everybody knows that college campuses, especially ones like Texas A&M, are where these ideas come and form their genesis to come into the marketplace. There wasn't a whoop in the crowd when I said especially Texas A&M. There you go. All right. So I didn't know I was on the right campus after all. And so, you know, just ask any one of you where the center of the universe is, and it's like right here. And so I love that about Texas A&M. So there's my contact information if you want to reach out to me at any time. I'm a resource and I'm available to you. And then that is my background. And then what I want to do is get a little bit better acquainted with what your background is and what your interests are. And so we can play, so what's your major? So how many people came to this group pursuing cannabinoids, either the horticulture side, terpenes, medical, recreational, a handful, okay. How many are architects, engineers, building sciences? We got a civil engineer, all right, a couple more hands. And then what about the agronomy? Where are the big farmer? Big tractors, big acreage, grow facilities. Anybody in textile and fashion? All right, that's a big one. We're all wearing clothes, and until we start running around naked again, we're all going to wear clothes, and hemp is some of the best clothes that's out there. I've got a bag with some fabric. My daughter and I were at a fashion show this past week, and one of the main emphasis was sustainability. This is the ugly side of it. This is hemp and silk. Now that's pretty nice. Y'all can come up and take a look at that. This is denim, which I think would be the best jeans you ever had. So a lot of fabric and textiles were. Now, why am I, as a construction-oriented professional, interested in textile? Because if textiles ramp up, and they will, then that's the outer part of the plant. If there's a big demand for that, I use the woody part of the plant that they get rid of. So these are, if you're in the cannabinoid side, these are your stems and stalks. What do you do with them? I don't know, just make them go away. Creative things are being done with that part of the plant. Now, many people in the U.S. are growing for that part of the plant, and then it's having to pull the wagon financially, and it's a burden on it. It makes that commodity of that building material more expensive. And so pay special attention to textiles and fashion, and if you know people in that industry, those are your designers. A designer with the proper demand will reach into the industry and pull everything forward, and you'll be amazed what happened. So, equine and veterinary. Who are the horsey people? Yeah? It counts. When the queen was alive, her horses were sleeping on hemp. The Budweiser Clydesdales, they sleep on a bed of hemp. And so poultry is a large-scale production animal that has a nice bedding that's used for the industrial hemp plant. Municipal government and planning, there's a lot of things that are, especially in these areas where they've had a lot of wildfires. Insurance companies are saying, we don't even want to insure houses there anymore. You got to build them where they don't burn down. That's one of the big things that's going into everything, as far as entire cities are saying, no, we don't want to do anything unless you figure it out. So who do you know that would like to join the network? And that's everybody who's sharing these ideas. This is a great way for you as students to reach out to someone in a professional career path that you want to go to. So you can say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Industry leader that I'm interested in going in, I was in a student organization, guy was up there talking, he said this and that about this and that, and then I'd like to know more. Can you tell me more? Because I think a lot of good things are happening and this is an ocean of opportunity. And then now you look good in their eyes and then you're talking to them. And so those conversations can lead to opportunities. And so take advantage of that. What you're learning about is a big deal. To quote Will Ferrell, was an anchorman, yeah. I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. And so for today, this is a crop. Hemp building is a market. We are a big old honkin' market for hemp hurd and materials, and that's why a lot of people pay attention to it, because it's a large scale volume consumer. And then I want to talk about how to connect the two. And so if somebody can keep an eye on the, oh, I've got it right here on my clock. So why hempcrete? Three main things. It's healthy. I mentioned it's healthy for the occupants. It's sustainable, and it's quality, a part of the construction. So those three things: healthy, sustainable, quality. All of those are make for a good home. All of those, as an investor, are money in my pocket. So how this is mixed up, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'm going to show you on these slides, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the safety briefing so we don't have to do it when we're outside. But that mixer, not as clean as when I picked it up at the factory, is parked right outside, and we've got all our stuff set up. And so we're going to mix up a batch of this. Now, we do mix the hemp hurd. You'll be able to see the woody part of the plant that is sized. It's chopped up and sized, and then we're going to mix that with lime and some pozzolans, and then that'll come out the consistency of oatmeal cookie dough, a little bit too much oatmeal. And so then you just pack that into the forms. If you want to make a souvenir ball and pack it up, then you'll have that to take home. I've got a few little frames that you can pack that in a frame, take that home with you. If you want to make a little whatever, if you're romantic, you can make it in a little heart and do that. Valentine's Day's just passed, but save it for next year, and then you'll be like, oh. And so you're welcome. So that's the machine. The main thing to note about the lime is eyes when you're around it, safety glasses. If you're near the mixer, you'll have these. Just don't throw it at each other, and you won't have to wear these when you're putting it together on there. But if you are near it, and then pay attention to which way the wind is blowing. And then I've got masks. If you want to be up there close, have that N95 mask on, tight around, because it does not like being breathed in. Lastly, it is very alkaline and will hurt you if you get it on your skin, and then it rubs in like around the glove or something like that. If you get a little bit on your skin, don't scream, just rinse it off. You'll be fine. But if you have it around your glove or in your sleeve or something like that, it'll blister up and scar you. And so that's enough without showing graphic pictures. Is everybody going to be careful with the lime? Okay, so that's that. And then when I'm talking about, this is heard all the way from France across the pond. This is a logo from the Construit de Chanvre organization. That's what I'm talking about with ASTM coming together in the US of America and then making a sticker like that to where we have our own standards because we don't play nice with everybody else. And so you get a little bit of my cynical humor in that, but this was very expensive to bring into this project. And then now the herd that we have baled up came local, means in the continental United States at this point. There are several processors that are coming online in Texas, but what we're going to be using out here today came from Kansas, from South Bend Industrial Hemp. And if you're interested in that, look up them on LinkedIn. Melissa Baldwin she does most of their social media posting, and then South Bend Industrial Hemp, and then there's a couple of others that are out there. This is the binder. Notice it's in French. This is the French binder that comes from across the pond that is specific. Now, what we're going to be using is a bag of Austin white lime, obviously local to Texas because it says Austin white lime, and that means it's from Austin. And so it's from the Texas Hill Country that is limestone, and they turn it into lime, and that's what we're going to use. And then we're going to add in, for those of you who study concrete, we're going to add in pozzolan mixes. Now, the pozzolans, from a non-sophisticated chemistry engineer person, those are the herbs and spices that make it do what you want it to do. I don't need to know, as a builder, the chemistry of all what's going on in my mix. I equate it to, if I was a bakery chef, I would want to use the Betty Crocker cake mix. I need to know that I put a bag of this with a bag of this and a bag of this, and it comes out fine. The pozzolans are the small portion that go in along with the lime, and then it makes it cure and perform like you want it to do. You can get very custom with that. For example, there's spray applications. So instead of casting it in place by hand, which is what we're going to do tonight, you can have a Tim Allen sized air cannon, and it's like shooting spit wads at a wall until you have a wall, and it's a lot of fun. It's as much fun as it sounds, but that's a different mixture of lime and pozzolan. Now raise your hand, Eric. Eric Hansen is with an organization that's importing micropause is the name of it, and then I'm tinkering around with it as well to get the formulations right for how my application is. Again, I'm looking to be a distributor of product. I want to buy and sell things. The product that we have out here today is from Hemp Ecosystems, if you want to look these up. These are all manufacturers and distributors of pozzolans and mixes with lime. And so this is the one that comes in that's called ER Easy 120, and it goes with the spray application. Just know that there's several different mixes of lime and pozzolan, just like there's several different mixes of cake mix in the baking aisle. Okay, but they all bake a cake. So this is a little bit about how they go in. You can run conduit through inside the wall, and then the wall comes like this when it's completely covered in. I don't recommend that because that is a pain in the neck to work around, but it worked for this application. This is a little bit what that looks like with the studs exposed to the outside. And on that note, while I'm talking, there's a lot of different configurations. You can circulate this around. This is new news. This is not even published yet. Pretty cool, right? And this is from the IRC, International Residential Code 2024. This is the draft that you can download from the USHBA website, but if you thumb through to some of the pictures in the back, it'll show you there's a couple of different scenarios where you can have the studs flush to the outside, you can have the studs flush to the inside, you can have them encapsulated in a wall, and it's got different specifications for those different scenarios. This is an appendix to the IRC code, and then that's going to be relevant to the ones who were the construction and building science folks that raised their hand. And so those scenarios are depicted, as well as in this book that is published by Hemp Ecosystem. You can circulate these around. This is, well, you can download this, or not download, buy it off of Amazon, and then that is something that is there for you. And so these are just some pictures of houses and how this looks. One of the appeals on the design side is that you can have beautiful old world look. This is in Conroe, just northwest of Houston. And then there's several other things. You can make rounded walls, domes, fancy-pantsy, this, that, and the other. As much as you want to create, bless your heart, you can create whatever you want because you can mix it in whatever form. You're not bound by a straight line like a lot of building materials. So I want to talk briefly about the state of the industry. I said it is big and it has lots of opportunities. An ocean of opportunity. You have industry players like the U.S. Hemp Building Association, which is a trade association pioneering some of those opportunities. This is a congressional delegation from Honduras. This is their Senate, their legislative leaders coming to Texas, coming to a few different processors, and this is at our job site. Note the Aggie t-shirt there. you guys are leaders wherever you go. And so what they're doing is they're looking at hemp as an economic juggernaut to lift their whole economy. They see the crop, they see the opportunity, so the whole daggum country is saying, how do we do this? How do we have the rising tide that lifts all boats? And then that's what they're there for. My answer to that was just build, build, build. They had a hurricane that they still come through their country that they're still repairing from, and then that would be something that would pull everything forward, a lot like I mentioned how fashion can pull everything forward. This is what's going on. This is at EarthX. This is in Washington, D.C. We're lobbying for verbiage and content in the upcoming Farm Bill. The Farm Bill in 2018 is what made this whole party legal, and then now they publish the Farm Bill every so often. We like to make sure that the legislators pull their head out of their backside and clean things up in the legislative verbiage, and so that you don't have large-scale, big tractor farmers needing to go through background checks and all of those things that if you're going to grow for medical marijuana. One is a fiber crop, one is a highly controlled substance, just like with beer, wine, spirits. And so you need to have a different set of rules and a different set of regulation. And so what we did when we were in DC is we were like, take this regulation, and this is the CBD and cannabinoid industry said, regulate us, we'll tell you how, because if you don't regulate us, then all the shenanigans go on. And so the industry wants that. And then also with the large-scale production crops, they're like, look, you let those cannabinoids folks do what they want, medical, recreational, CBD, we don't care. We just want to grow something instead of or in addition to cotton, beans, and corn. And then that's what we want to do, and we want to play by these rules. And so that's how that's going, and that's the influence that we're having in DC. Now they kicked the can down the road with the Farm Bill, and I'm not sure when it's going to come here, and who knows. So this is the ASTM. We talked about that. They meet twice a year for what's called Committee Week. Now, what is Committee Week? Imagine the most boring class that you've had on campus thus far, multiply the boring factor times 2, and that's what Committee Week is. But it's the industry leaders coming together, and that's where stuff gets done. And then that's how you can see entire industries taking place. It's boring to watch a tree sprout sometimes, but that's how it happens, and that's where the standards get set. And then ASTM wants to have a liaison relationship with academics, and so there's opportunity there, and if that interests you, let me know. Sid Miller, this is at your AgriLife Center. This was an event a year and a half, 2 years ago. There's leadership in play. They're advocating for this. It's not all pushing the boulder uphill. A lot of it is, some of it's not. We are educating and making it possible for trades to come into the space. And so this is an example. Kim is a painter by trade. She didn't like all the chemicals and junks that she was dealing with on a daily basis. And then Tim White, here pictured, is one of the instructors in our Hemp Build School that we launched to teach trades, engineers, builders, architects on how to have this professional area of expertise. An architect or a builder doesn't need to relearn everything that they've learned. They just need to modify a few things that they've learned, and so that now they can be a professional. And so that's what we teach and train on, and then we go through things. These are some of the trade associations. NOCO, Clayton's been there along with Russ, and we met. Won't share any of the pictures from there, so what stays in NOCO, or what happens in NOCO stays in NOCO, right? And so, you know, y'all are leading the way out at this field day. This is in Taylor, Texas, and this is a real good example of some innovative agriculture. This was in a heavy drought year, and this was an impressive stand of hemp that's back there, and then a lot of other crops failed. That was a successful crop, one, because of the canopy and the shade that the hemp casts, but also that pasture had been in, or that field had been in no-till or low-till for a couple of decades, I believe. And so it's one of those things where environmental stewardship is very, very strong on the motivation of everybody's heart, just like the sustainability is in the fashion industry. Everything's happening, and happening for a good reason. And this is the house that we've got going on in San Antonio. It's nearing completion. It'll be ready to rent coming up here this next month. And then this is in Austin, and then this is the Texas Housing Conference. This is where large-scale apartment buildings get designed, funded, financed, and all of that. They had us come on and speak on a panel about utilizing industrial hemp. One of the best things about it is between those walls, not only is it a good insulation, but it's almost impossible to set on fire. I don't say fireproof, I say damn near fireproof, and then that's pretty accurate. And so I've got, I'm not going to do the demonstration on today, but you can take the block that you have, get a torch, heat one side up. I shot the temperature gun on it. It was about 800 degrees. I could comfortably hold my hand on the other side, not even feel it transferring over. And then you could hold it there until that little canister runs out of fuel, and you're not going to set it on fire. And so after it cures for a few days, then that's what's there. So we're about halfway through the hour, and then that's where I wanted to go ahead and just rapid fire run through a few things. This is when I'm talking a little bit longer of a program. I go through the 5 things that you need for success in a building project. And you need a builder that's on board. You need an architect that is not going to screw up the deal. To build a house with hempcrete as the insulation is a pain in the neck, at best. You're going to have to do things. You're building with a new material in a new industry. And then, for example, I can't even get a bank account for my business, and all I do is the building material side of it. So I'm not even one of the naughty cannabinoid boys, you know? And so it's like, you know we don't want to give Clayton a bank account because he's growing them there terpenes. No, it's everybody's slow to come on, but it's happening, and it's happening in a good speed. You've got educators and people sharing the message out there, like JJ, who's letting people know that this is all it is. And then, like Dolly Parton would say, there's nothing dirty going on. And so go back and Google that. That's a way old movie. You know it, though. Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Yeah. Yeah. And so you need an engineer. And so the code, the appendix to the IRC code has been passed. That means if you're an architect, you can write it in, specify it, and then that's okay. It's most bestest if you have an engineer stamp on it, because the engineer stamp is at the bottom, thus saith the Lord, and everything will be fine. And so that engineer stamp is a little target with E&O insurance and all of that the municipalities like, which means it's never going to be their fault if anything bad happens, because the engineer stamp is on it. So don't skip your engineer. And then for it to pass and be certified as insulation, 2 main things need to happen. It needs to have a fire rating, which it does, and on a scale of 1 to 10, it's about a 0 as far as catching on fire, damn near. And so the other thing is it needs to have an R value, even though a U value is a better measurement, and you can establish an R value with some testing to validate it. And so with that, an engineer can stamp it. The building is still the building. I still build with wood frames, and then the hempcrete is just the insulation, and I'll show you better outside. You're going to need a subcontractor that actually does the work. I am my own subcontractor. JJ's come out to the job site and helped me do everything from cut down trees to fill walls with hemp to mix it up and all of that. There are no trades. If you're in building sciences or you're in something and you like being outside, you like being on the job site, you can have a whole business and take that entrepreneurial focus and turn it into being a subcontractor, and there are oceans of opportunity for that. Also in the supply chain, if you like logistics and moving things around, that's for you. And that's it for inside. And so I wanted to open it up, and then of the different departments, I have a deal for whoever would like to write up your point of view. This is about the USHBA that I'm going to hand around, And then I've got these to look at. These are magnesium oxide, and I'll take those outside with me. Are there any questions? I just dumped a lot out. That was a fast-flying airplane at high altitude looking at the hemp industry. Any questions on how it relates to you at the student on the ground level?
Well, as an engineering perspective, does it hold up like concrete in any other format?
Great question. Is it as strong as concrete? No. You're asking it to be insulation right now, nothing more, nothing less. There are some load-bearing scenarios that were incubated with the University of Nebraska. I know somebody else did something, but it's load-bearing but not insulative. It's either insulative and not load-bearing, or load-bearing and not insulative. If you get both, you're going to be disruptive. And so this is where, instead of having the pink fiberglass insulation or spray foam, you can have hempcrete. And then we'll see that, and it makes a lot of sense when we mock that up outside. Great question. Hempcrete is a terrible name, but it's what we started with. They're kind of transitioning to hemp lime because it's hemp and lime, so that's a good name for it. It's like peanut butter and jelly. But hempcrete is a terrible name because it implies strength and rigidity. Now, I will say this. There's some, the ASTM committee that is wanting to reduce the carbon footprint of concrete. Man, you think the terpene producers are the naughty boys. Man, concrete and Portland cement, they're just, whoo. And so they're trying to bring that carbon footprint down. Even just a little bit of hemp as a micronized product in there will go a long way. So yeah, great question. Who else?
I was curious, you mentioned that you've had trouble working with financial institutions, and I know the reasons for the naughty boys, that's why they have trouble.
Yeah.
But I thought that industrial hemp has been like a established industry for a while. Why are you having concerns or issues as well in your industry?
Keep in mind, financial institutions and insurance companies, they buy and sell risk. They're in the risk business. And if there's anything that says risk, and I'll share this story about when I was setting up the bank account for the Hemp Build Network. I'm sitting down there. I'm 53. I've had a bank account there since I've had a driver's license. And then I'm setting up I've had a business banking account for my other real estate brokerage there for 10 plus years. And then so setting up a new account. Will you have a casino? No. Will you have a massage parlor? No. Will you this? Will you that? Will you the other? And one of the things is, will you anything hemp? And I was like, well, I got to check yes because it asked for the whole bucket. I even said this will be a test thing and then I'll explain everything. It'll be fine. It wasn't fine. And so the risk management, if they see anything, they don't know it. So Clayton, we're going to be migrating outside